Hey my friends, welcome back to AttractPassion. If you only knew how many incredible experiences are waiting for you in the future, your heart would be smiling right now. You would be at ease with yourself because you would know that everything is actually unfolding perfectly well. Like something we've been talking yesterday, but today's message is so incredible because it's interesting how tiny little shift in perception can completely change the way we look on life. And we'll be talking a lot about this. And if I would have a short explanation of this message, I would call it a happy heart. And I will explain you later. So firstly, this is your reminder to raise your hope and acknowledge that this day will bring you new opportunities to get a bit closer to where you want to be. Stay open-minded for miracles and synchronicities. So what it all means? Well, firstly, if we talk about hope a little bit, because we may hear a lot about hope in the Bible, for example, or in any kind of religious texts that are more than religious, spiritual texts. We may find hope as a guiding point, right? Like a finger point towards something bigger, something brighter, something better, something that is wiser than you right now. To have hope for that means that you can become that. To have a hope for your better future means that you know that it's already possible for you. And in the words of Rudolf Steiner, he said that we should not wish we had been better, but should instead desire to become better. And this saying is so powerful because often we may fall into lower emotional states because we wish we had been better. We wish we had been different. Especially when we are in certain conversations and we maybe don't find the right words to use, or we do some immature actions, or we do something that we are not proud of, and we may start to fall into the emotions of sadness and worry of like what people will say about me, and we may feel those emotions. And because we think that it's bad, because we think that we are a bad person, we really lose ourselves there. But a better approach to that is to actually reflect what we would do differently next time that it will happen. Because it will happen next time. We will get into similar events, similar experiences. We will meet similar opportunities. And if we are able to reflect consciously what happened back then, we can ask ourselves, well, if I would stay just a bit more conscious, and I would use a bit more of knowledge that I already have intellectually about how to behave in that kind of situation, how differently I would act in that kind of situation if it will repeat, right? And that's where we are growing, right? That's where we start expanding our awareness in those automatic behaviors. That's where we download consciousness from the higher self, because when you're reflecting your past without emotional reaction, you're in the point of view of your higher self. You're studying your life, and that is a powerful state to be in, because you recognize that every day is a stage in your development. Each day is a stage in your development, which means that everything you're moving through, if it is reflected consciously, can teach you something important about yourself, which means that you will never repeat same mistakes anymore. Which doesn't mean that you will never repeat mistakes. You will make them, but you will do them a bit differently, which means that you will stay a bit more conscious. And to me, that's evolution. That's all evolution. You're becoming more conscious of your unconscious emotions, automatic patterns, and that's what's helping you to experience a greater manifestation. Because the law of cause and effect is reminding us that all our actions are making results. But if we look deeper into the word of action, we recognize that anything that's happening is already an action, right? So if we go deeper into what's happening, we recognize that action starts with a thought. When you think a thought, you're already acting on something. Your awareness is sensing a thought. So every time you sense a thought, you will react to it. So you start to know that thought better. Thought is already life, right? Thought is alive. And in order to know it better, you need to react to it, respond to it, to see on what kind of frequency it is. And that's where you recognize if the thought is on lower frequency or on higher frequency. And it puts us into the state of mental observation, like mental awareness, like what kind of thoughts are present in my mind. And for somebody who's the beginner in this work of self-awareness, it may sound quite complicated. But for example, when you have, like for example, before you go into bed, or when you lay into bed, when you're completely relaxed and you know that you don't have anything to do, you can reflect a bit on your mind, on your thoughts, like what kind of thoughts are running in your mind, and soon you will recognize that certain thoughts awaken more lower emotions. Like when you think about certain bad things that you did, you will notice those thoughts are really on low vibrations. But if you think about the beautiful things that happened in that certain day, you will notice that those thoughts are on much higher vibrations because they are more coherent. They are like teaching you of what life is all about. What life is all about when you are in that state of wonder, in that state of awe, in that state of happiness and gratitude. That's why one of the first philosophies that became viral, like the law of attraction in this modern time, were all about thinking positively, because that's how can we raise our energy. But if somebody is deeply lost in so many emotional traumas and emotional hurts from the past, it's hard to even go beyond the mindset of the past, right? That's why for many people, law of attraction is not working. But it doesn't mean that law of attraction is not working. It just means that we are not able to use it correctly or to use it for our greater good. And when we say to use something for our greater good, means for the greater good of nature, means for the greater good of the universe, which means that if we want to use something for greater good, we can only use it for the good of all, for the evolution, the positive evolution of all. And in order to fully understand those words, we need to know what it means, right? We need to know what it means. And that's why it's so incredible to remind ourselves that something incredible is waiting us in the future, because we start looking up to it. We don't say like there's something wrong with my present self, because nothing is wrong with you. But we remind ourselves that there's something to look up for, because a big problem often in society is that people don't have nothing to look up for, so they only look down for their problems. They only look down for what's wrong. And in that kind of situation, it's hard to do anything creative. It's hard to do anything productive, because we are in prison of our own thoughts of what's wrong. And to me, that's not a beautiful state to be in. So you need to remind yourself that every single day you have an opportunity to become a bit better on all different levels, on mental level, on emotional level, on spiritual level. And of course, if you're working on mental and emotional level, your spiritual level is ascending because you are the spirit poisoned with the thoughts that are not serving you. So when you deal with unpleasant thoughts and unpleasant emotions, you just become more spiritual naturally. You just recognize that your spirit is purifying. Better said, your soul is purifying. And therefore you're learning more of what not to do. And suddenly you have more time to focus on what you want to do, to what truly inspires you, to what you truly feel called to do. And that's something truly important to know. So having hope for the better means to know that it's possible to be better. And to know that it's possible to be better, you need to study something that will remind you of that. Because if we look around us, it's hard to see that it's possible to be better. If we want to raise the consciousness of society, each individual needs to understand that it's possible to be better than we are right now. It's possible to be a better human. It's possible to share some more kindness and compassion with each other. But in order to do that, we need to deal with our sadness and suppressed anger and fears and frustrations. And in order to do that, we need to know those emotions. And to know those emotions, we need to stop judging them, right? And that's where we recognize that maybe to stop judging ourselves, we need to get into the environment where we don't feel judged. Which means that we need to find an environment where we don't feel judged. And to me, an environment that is without judgment is nature, right? Nature is not judging us. And just yesterday, I was sitting by the river. It was a gentle stream of water. And for some moments, I was just observing that water, like I would be meditating with open eyes. And suddenly, I've noticed how this water is teaching me to be like water. Like Bruce Lee said, be water, my friend. And that water was teaching me how to be even more gentle, how to be even more fluid with our emotions. Because if you go deeper into your emotional system, if you observe your body, you may recognize that when you feel lower emotions of sadness or anger or judgment or envy or comparison or any of that, you may recognize that it's stored in a certain area of your body, in like certain tiny muscles are kinda squeezed or compressed, or it just feels like there's tension in that body. And tension means that that there's a block and the flow can't move through it. And what water taught me is that I need to become so aware of those tiny muscles so I can start breathing into them. And by breathing into them, I will relax the tension. So any emotion that may be stored within you need to be freed, need to be released. And it can only be released by allowing life to enter into this area. And life is breath, right? That's why the first thing you did when you've been born, you took your first breath, right? Breath is life. And when you start breathing life into those tiny little muscles that are storing certain emotional memory, you will free yourself. That's why every time you do it, you free yourself from a certain block, from a certain limitation. So that's what will help you to have a greater hope for the future, because suddenly you will not be so blocked with all those heavy memories of what happened, memories that may remind you that life is not worthy of living, memories that may say to you that you are a bad person, memories that may say to you that you are unworthy, that you are not good enough, that people are just better than you, so you are nothing. We have those memories. We have those memories from our past experiences, but we also have many of those memories from our previous generations, from our ancestors. So when you're freeing those memories, you're freeing your ancestors, and that's why they are celebrating you. You may not see them, but they are celebrating you. That's why you experience that release of energy. That's why every time you do that, you feel lighter. And that's something truly beautiful. And that's how we start looking on our days, that each day is a stage in our development. But we need to choose to work with ourselves. That's what it means to know yourself better, because you're present with yourself. And it doesn't mean that whole day long you should be practicing it. You should be present with yourself. Eventually it will become natural. Like you will become more conscious. More you are reflecting yourself, like your day, how your day went, what were the interesting events in your day, where you've fallen off the grace, where you've lost yourself. If you reflect those moments, you will soon recognize that also your memory is strengthening, because you're able to see and perceive events that happened with many great details from the point of your higher self consciousness. And it will allow you to study what you did, right? To study why you behave that way, why it is important, because only when you understand the why you did it that way, you can know how to do it differently. That's how you understand yourself. If you don't know how, why you should use the computer, you will never feel motivated to learn more about it, right? It's same with anything else. If we don't know why we want something, why we are doing something, we'll never understand it. So once you figure out why you're doing something, you will start studying that pattern, and that is a great progress in your evolution. But then at the end of the opening message for the start of this video, I said to you, stay open-minded for miracles and synchronicities. And shortly, how can we stay open-minded for miracles and synchronicities? Well, every single day we are presented with miracles. Life is always bringing us beautiful moments. Like, for example, yesterday when I was sitting there by the river, at some point a yellow butterfly came out of nowhere, and for a certain period of time I was not aware of it, and it was like dancing around me. But as soon as I recognized it, I've experienced a sensation of gratitude, and then it disappeared. It flew away. So you see, sometimes nature is seeking our attention just to raise our emotional state, just to raise our state of being, and then it goes on with its flow. And that's a miracle. That's a moment of a miracle. And if we start reflecting our days to catch those miraculous events that took place in a day, we start to train ourselves to notice more of those beautiful synchronicities and events that are taking place. And by training ourselves to perceive more of that, we'll suddenly feel much lighter, because every time you perceive something beautiful, you experience an energy of beauty. What's an energy of beauty? It's an energy of bliss. It's an energy of happiness, right? It's an energy, like it's a similar state that the tree is in. If you hug a tree and truly get present with it, you will experience a generous presence, like nothing to think about, just being. And that's what nature is often reminding us with those simple, miraculous events. But there's a huge purpose behind them. Every time you perceive something like that, you know the purpose. You know that it just wakes you up from a dream, right? It wakes you up to the reality of nature. The reality of nature is flow state, it's beauty, it's wonder, it's you see, nature is colorful. The warmth, sensation of the sun that is feeding your skin, that's nature, and that's the reality of nature. And once we fully acknowledge it, we recognize that we are so blessed, and there's so many blessings every single day finding us. So it's a great practice to end your day. When you lay into bed, reflect on the day with great details. What were the interesting events that happened? Or maybe what have you missed that happened? Because, for example, for me, it took me some time to recognize that butterfly, but to me it was a beautiful sensation. But then, you know, if you reflect more details, you may recognize that you were walking through the city and somewhere a random stranger gave you a truly generous, honest, beautiful smile for a second. And you didn't even notice that. But as you're reflecting your memories from this day, you may smile back in your memory, right? You may smile back in your heart, because it's like a reminder that every single moment you may be presented with a certain miracle, and it will help you to strengthen your memory, to refocus your attention onto beautiful events, and eventually it will make you look on life from a more positive perspective. It will happen naturally. It's not anymore so much about certain forced positive thinking. It should be natural. It should happen as a byproduct of your development, mental development. And it can only happen by reflection, by seeing our past as examples, like what we did and how could we do it differently in the future. If we just learn to see our past as we've been an example of who we were in those moments, but as you're observing those moments, you're not the same person anymore. You're more aware. You have an opportunity to look on that event from a peaceful state, especially if you're laying in bed. You observe those events and you just reflect on how could you do it differently in the future. And eventually you will train your subconscious mind that when this similar event will happen, you will do what you've visualized that would be better for you. And that's something truly powerful that will help you to manifest so much more beautiful events for the future. That's why I said, if you only knew how many incredible experiences are waiting for you in the future, your heart would be smiling right now. So can you awaken that smile inside of your heart? That would be beautiful. I will leave you here. I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting. And the name of this painting is Luck. I wanted to connect it to today's message, and it is a beautiful connection. So thanks to all of you for supporting my art in my Etsy shop. I draw my passion. You're all truly appreciated. I love you all. Stay beautiful. Till next time, one love.